We've spent the past few weeks better managing and organizing our relationships, money, and resources to get them in a better order. And I think we actually have done that. And because we've done that so well, we now feel safe enough to take risks in our lives. And I actually think pursue risks and opportunities that we started at the end of last year in September of 2025 to really finally complete them or move them forward so that once this is done, we can finally enter some new, different, and better experience of life that we've been trying to get to for quite some time, which is what we're going to talk about in this video for this new moon in Capricorn. Hi, I'm your astrologer, Brittany of Ethereal Astrology, helping you to see the larger story of your life. Today, you're watching your astrology horoscope for the new moon in the sign of Capricorn, which occurs on Sunday, January 18th, 2026 at 2:51 p.m. Eastern Time or 11:51 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, let's go ahead and let's hop right into it. In order to get started, what I like to do first is to place on the chart what it is that I'm referring to so that you can see it and follow along with me. So let me go ahead and do that here. This video is about the new moon in Capricorn, and because of that, I've adjusted the chart accordingly for that lunar event. I know that this chart is for that because I've got the sun and the moon here at the same sign and the same degree, which is 28 degrees Capricorn. And when the moon and the sun make a conjunction like this, the same degree, the same sign, that is what is considered a new moon, and it's in Capricorn because that's where they both are, especially the moon. Okay, so this is what we're looking at, a new moon in the sign of Capricorn. Now, what is this about in general terms, in a very broad way? Well, new moons are the very first lunar phase of the entire lunar month or lunar cycle. Because of that, they tend to be about new beginnings, new energies, or fresh starts, where we're either doing something new or doing something we've already been doing in some sort of new way. Not only that, but I also need to note as well that because this is when the moon is very dark in the sky, is harder to see, what it means is that this new beginning that we're doing, or this thing that we're putting more energy and more focus on, usually is either smaller or can't be seen as first. But as more time goes on, especially as we move to the full moon and throughout the lunar cycle, it's going to be seen more and more and more and just get bigger as time goes on, that we're going to have more clarity about there. Okay, so what is it now that we are starting or doing in a new way or getting fresh energy to pursue that's starting small, can hardly be seen, but it's going to get more and more and more? Well, that has to do with Capricorn because that's the sign that the new moon is in. Okay, what is Capricorn all about? Well, one of the things that Capricorn is all about is a lot about managing and kind of structuring things to make them like more organized. That's kind of the way that I might see it, or to make sure like everything's good here. So I think that's one of the things that's going on at this new moon in Capricorn, is that we're trying to get like a new beginning or new energy to like better manage and structure things in our life, to make our life just more organized or more efficient, or just feel like it's more together. Not only that, but another thing that Capricorn has to do with, it's Saturn ruled. So it tends to be a lot about like responsibilities and just trying to juggle all our responsibilities or be responsible, which a lot of times is tied up in the managing and structuring, right? If we're trying to be responsible, usually it requires us to better like manage and organize things in our lives. But I wanted to add that as well. So not only are we trying to get new energy to like better manage and structure our current experience to make it more orderly, but also to be more responsible or do the responsible thing there. Not only that, but Capricorn as well is an earth sign. Earth signs tend to be more practical as well, and dealing with more like tangible things, kind of like that we can see, touch, and feel in our environment, right? Which you kind of need to be doing if you're going to be managing and structuring things, but is also more about that and like thinking more practically about our situation as well. So that's another thing that's going on. Not only are we trying to better manage and structure our life much better to get it more organized, but we're trying to be responsible about everything, to make sure that everything's coming together and be more realistic. Maybe that's the word, more realistic, more practical about what we can realistically achieve and with what needs to happen in our situation. Not only that, but another thought here is Capricorn 2 being Saturn ruled also tends to be a little more serious about life and about what we hope to achieve as well. So I think there's more of like a serious energy to it that's going on when it comes to the managing and structuring and being more practical and realistic and responsible and trying to bring everything together. And not only that, another thought that I'll give you as well is that Capricorn also has to do with our life direction, right? The entire direction that our life is going in, which is why it's at the top of the chart. You know, it's the part of our life that can be most publicly seen in a lot of ways as well. So not only at this new moon in Capricorn are we like trying to better manage and structure and organize our life and be responsible and serious and realistic and practical so that we can make it all effective and efficient. But we're also too, I think, focusing more or thinking more about the big things in our life and our life direction and where our life is headed and kind of what we want to get out of life or what kind of name we want to make for ourselves in life here as well. That's happening. Not only that, but another thing I need to note as well is that Capricorn as well, being Saturn ruled, usually has a lot to do with decisions as well. Decisions that we might need to make, which kind of comes a lot with the seriousness, with the responsibility, kind of, and with a lot of these other things that we're thinking about as well. So there may also be that too. Not only at this new moon in Capricorn are we still trying to like manage and organize things, be responsible with our life and practical and realistic and get things in a better order, but we're also thinking about the big stuff in our life, kind of where we want our life to go, the overall direction of it, and maybe feeling like we need to make decisions about our life direction or put our life in a new direction or a different direction or a better direction as well. Not only that, but another thing I want to note too is that even though new moons are about new things, in a lot of ways, starting new cycles, it is in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is the end of the zodiac, right? It's the 10th sign out of 12. And Capricorn starts the last season, right? The last season of the year, which is winter, as well. When everything's kind of dying. And because of that, to me, Capricorn is really not necessarily about new things. It's more about the past. So revisiting the past or working with something from the past that we've already done, which I need to note to kind of tie it together with these other themes is why Capricorn has this reputation for being responsible and for managing things, right? Because we're at a point in the, in the seasons where everything's dying and we're left only with what we've done in the past, and we have to better manage those resources so that they're going to last us all winter, right? So that's kind of how it all comes together in regards to this as well. That's going on. That to me is also a theme indicating, to now bring it together, that a lot of these decisions, right, that we might be feeling like we are pressured to make about our overall life direction have something to do with the past. Or something we've already done or already initiated at an earlier time that we're now trying to figure out how to work together. Okay, so I think that's all I'm going to say there in terms of the new moon in Capricorn, the main themes that's happening. One more time for me is that at this new moon in Capricorn, we are like kind of getting new energy to better manage and structure our current experience, to make it more organized, more effective, and more efficient. And we're trying to be practical and responsible and serious about all of that. And I think the more that we're managing and structuring our life and getting it in a better order, we're starting to think about the big things in our life, the big picture, the big direction that our life is going in, and feel like maybe we need to make some decisions about that and about our life and about where we want it to go, maybe based on some things that either have already occurred or that we've already done in the past to kind of move our life forward, our life direction in a different way that feels better for us and what we hope to achieve. Okay. So that's what I think is going on there. Now, before I give you more detail about that, and what's going on and look more into the aspects that this is making, I do want to go back in time for a minute before I go forward to give you more of the context of how we got here, because there's a new moon in Capricorn about this time every year. That's not really special. Okay. What makes each new moon different from the next one is really the alignments that either have occurred in the past or that have happened around it. that give it more of its flavor. So I like to now go back to the past and talk about other alignments to give you the better context of this new moon, and therefore to ultimately give you more detail about this and how this new moon is different from the others. Now, this section can get kind of long, especially because we're coming to the end of the astrological year. So if you're not into that or don't have a lot of time, totally fine. Please skip ahead in the video. I've included the timestamps to this video so that you can easily navigate to whatever section you feel is the most useful for you. But for now, if you want to see kind of the thought processes behind my interpretation, you can stick with me and we'll talk about the past. Okay. To do that, I'm going to go back to an alignment that happened around the beginning of 2020, roughly January to April of 2020. We had a very rare alignment that was also a bit challenging that occurred right here towards the middle to end degrees of Capricorn, near where this new moon is now. There. Okay. And what was happening around January to April of 2020 is that we had Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, and the South Node all come into a conjunction around there. It was rare because Saturn and Pluto only come conjunct roughly about every 35 years and not always with the South Node there or Jupiter, which is going to make it more rare. It is difficult because Pluto is involved, which can be a bit of a challenge. So too can Saturn, having a lot to do with restriction, being malefic planets. Jupiter was in Capricorn, a sign it does not like to be in and therefore doesn't function well in. And the South Node too can indicate things that are also keeping us stuck or that are not meant for us at this time. So it was a rare challenge that was starting to occur right January to April of 2020. What was that about? Well, Saturn can indicate some sort of stuck energy, feeling like we're maybe not able to move forward, especially in Capricorn, the large direction of our life, of like where our life was headed. And Pluto, which can bring out some deep emotions, was about us feeling very frustrated by that. The South Node held back, unable to move forward. That was very hard. Not only was it about us feeling stuck in like the overall direction of our lives, but I also need to note it was about us realizing with Pluto there, also a symbol of change, that we needed to make some changes and big ones. Jupiter, a very big planet, big changes to really end these things that we did not like in our lives or that were keeping us stuck so that we could eventually move forward, right, in a different and better way at a later time. Okay, now why, what more? Let me give you more detail around this stuck energy. I think this stuck energy that we were feeling around January to April of 2020 was either that we did not really like much about our lives from the past 35 years, because that's how long it takes this alignment to occur, or we did like some things about our lives in the past 35 years, but we just simply outgrown it, right? That happens. We just outgrown it and we wanted something different. Not only was that what I think was going on as well, but I'll give you another thought too. Pluto, I'm an evolutionary astrologer. Pluto is super important. Pluto in evolutionary astrology can indicate, which was there at the time, can indicate parts of our lives where we're doing too much and more in an unhealthy or unbalanced way, or a way that's just past its prime that needs to be kind of sorted through. And it was in Capricorn at that time. And Capricorn is a lot about managing things. It's also a lot about structuring things. But if we wanted to take it to an unhealthy and unbalanced level, it's about caring too much about managing and structuring things, about things being practical or organized, caring too much about status and success, our place in the world, maybe what other people thought of us, that we were not honoring our emotions, the opposite sign. A lot of times the opposite sign in evolutionary astrology gets neglected, that we were not honoring our emotions and what was truly fulfilling to us. So that means that part of the reason why we were feeling stuck and either didn't like our life for the past 35 years or simply had outgrown it, and needed to make those big endings in order to do those things, was because for many years prior to 2020, we had been ignoring our emotions and what was truly meaningful for us, and instead just creating a life based on what we thought was socially acceptable, we thought was traditional, we thought would get us status and success, we thought we should do, that was the responsible and serious thing in order to make happen, that created a whole life situation that did not truly resonate with our emotions, with who we are at our core, that we then needed to escape. Okay. And in 2020, it was about us initiating those endings, right? And it's hard. It's hard to end things that you've been doing for a long time. They've been a part of your life, even if you want them gone. You know, it's still hard to end those things with relationships and money and make those changes that you need. Okay. And that's what occurred there. And now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to fast forward many years. just for the sake of time and to focus on what's important. And I'm going to move forward to April of last year, right? What was that? April of 2025, right around there roughly. We had a new moon solar eclipse somewhere in the sign of Aries, right about here. Okay, new moons are about new beginnings. Solar eclipse is superpower. That Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, which is about new beginnings, starting new things. And not only that, but Aries is a Mars ruled sign as well, which is about action and doing things. And not only is it about doing anything, it's also about doing things in new ways, right? Because that's the first sign of the zodiac, new things. Not only is it about new things, it's about doing things in new ways. Why? Why is that? Well, if you want something different in your life, you have to behave in a different way, right? Do you see? If you want something new in your life, but you're behaving in an old way, you're just going to recreate the old thing. You're not going to get to a new thing. So it's very important here that we needed to act in new and different ways. What is that different way that we needed to act in? Well, I'll tell you what way it wasn't. It wasn't a Capricorn way, because that's where that Saturn, Pluto, South Node, Jupiter thing was 5 years earlier. It's not in a way that's serious, traditional, focused on status and success and what other people think, and too practical and responsible. No, it's not that way. It's a way that maybe was more Aries. Aries is more about our passions, our impulses, our instincts. And I'm also, of course, going to include Cancer because I'm an evolutionary astrologer. It was the opposite point of Pluto, super important, which is about honoring more of our emotions, of which passion and impulse is, by the way, as well. That was going on. So I think that's what started to happen in April of 2025, which was just last year, is that we'd finally ended enough stuff in our life from the past 35 years that we did not like, and worked through some of that we now felt able to start again, to get into a new, different, and better experience of life, and to try to do that by behaving in new and different ways, and by behaving in new and different ways that are based more on our emotions, passion, what's fulfilling to us, impulse and instinct, instead of tradition, logic, responsibility, or what's practical there. Okay, because that's the key to help us move on into different experiences and not recreate the things we just tried to escape. And that then leads me now to the next thing I want to mention. And this time I'm going to go through all the new moons and some of the full moons of this astrological year. Okay, so the next one I'm going to go to is going to be that next new moon in the next sign over, which was somewhere roughly around May of 2025 in the sign of Taurus. New moons are about new beginnings. Taurus is a lot about stability and security. It's fixed earth. It's a lot about staying fixed in something that was already started, say, in the first sign of the zodiac, Aries season. It's also about getting more confident in that as well, and cultivating more of like a skill or talent for it there. Another thing that I want to note as well is that Taurus is kind of a slower sign because it's fixed earth, right? It's trying to really sustain something there. So it might have felt slower, but that's part of the process to help us. So to bring that together, what that means is that in April of last year, we started to adopt new behaviors that were based more on our emotions in order to get into a new experience of life, right? And away from one that we were trying to escape. And in May 2025, we were trying to sustain these new behaviors and get more confident, more secure in them, to develop more of a knack, right? A skill, a talent for them at that time, which may have felt a little bit slow in the energy, because we were trying to adapt, and because I think we were doing less than we were doing before, but was a good thing. That then leads me now to the next new moon, which happened a month later, and then the next sign over of Gemini, somewhere around June of 2025. What was that about? New moons are about new beginnings. Gemini is a lot about adapting to something, making it more familiar, communicating about it. To me, it's a little bit more of like a playful sign as well there. So in June of 2025, what were we trying to do? Well, these new behaviors, right, that we're trying to get that honor more of our emotions. Not only were we trying to sustain those to get more confident, more secure, and hold on to them, but we're also trying to adapt to them, be more flexible, have more fun with them, communicate, let people know what we're trying to do here. That's different, as well. That was happening there, which I think was also needed. That then leads me now, the next new moon happened roughly a month later, next sign over, July 2025, in the sign of Cancer, which it was conjunct Jupiter at the time, by the way. New moons are about new beginnings. Cancer is the lowest part of the chart, really about grounding something so that it has strong roots that's more permanent and solid from which to grow. And also too, with it being a water sign, about honoring our emotions and nurturing those through the process, which helps with that, which I think we were doing in a significant way with Jupiter there. And And what that means, right, to bring everything together is that in July of 2025, not only had we sustained new behaviors based more on our emotions, adapted to them, got more used to them, had more fun with them, communicated more about them, but that they were starting to become more of a permanent part of our being, our inner being of who we really are. And we were beginning to understand more what these new behaviors are, which honored our emotions and get more in touch with our emotions in order for that to occur, right? So it was more a part of our life in a more enduring type of way. That then leads me now to the next alignment I want to mention. And now I'm going to switch to add some full moons in for a bit, which was somewhere around that same time, I'll say July also of 2025, we had the full moon in the opposite sign of Cancer, which is Capricorn, where the new moon is now. So they're connected there. What was that about? Well, full moons are all about stepping into things we've been trying to work towards for quite some time to bring it to completion or fruition. Capricorn is very public facing, about something that's more publicly seen. It's also very practical, right? About things you can kind of see, touch, and feel, being an earth sign as well, and about the direction of our lives. So I think what happened in July of last year is that since we had grounded these new behaviors that are based more on our emotions, doing things that honor our emotions, we were then trying to make those behaviors more publicly seen so that everyone kind of knew what we're doing with honoring our emotions, and to actually do things tangibly in our physical world, to start to do them in a way that honored our emotions, right? To actually do things that honored our emotions instead of this other stuff that was more traditional or responsible or all of that we'd been trying to get rid of. So that would start to show. Okay, that then leads me to the next alignment that I want to mention. About 2 weeks after that, somewhere around August of last year, 2025, we had a new moon in the sign of Leo, which was happening at the same time Mercury was retrograde, also in the sign of Leo. Okay, what is that about? New moons are about new beginnings, new energy, and fresh starts. Okay, Leo is a lot about courage. It's a lot about bravery. Not only that, it's a lot about risk taking, being a fire sign, kind of having things catch fire, right? Taking things to the next level, being more bold. And with Mercury retrograde there at the time, which is not the best alignment, I think we were having problems with that. We were losing our courage, losing our boldness, losing our fire to take the risks with what? Well, everything's back to these new behaviors since the beginning of the astrological year. With these new behaviors that honor our emotions, we became the cowardly lion, and we began to hold back on these new behaviors that we were just trying to do publicly, and either not finish them or not follow through with them, or just hide or act weird kind of about it, which kind of made us feel stuck with that retrograde and stagnate there. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment I want to mention. 2 weeks after that, we had a full moon in the opposite sign of Aquarius here, also somewhere around August of 2025. Okay, full moon, stepping into things we've been working towards for a while. Aquarius is not about detaching from things, maybe that have been holding us back, breaking free from that. It's also an air sign about not letting our emotions get the best of us. And I think what happened in August around that full moon in Aquarius is that we started to overcome, right, the lack of courage, the fear around these new behaviors, right? And to really work through that so that we were no longer stopping ourselves from behaving in these new ways that we really needed to behave, right? Breaking free from that fear. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which was about 2 weeks after that, September, the next sign over of 2025, a new moon in the sign of Virgo. New moons are about new beginnings. Virgo is about our habits and routines, things that we do habitually, day in and day out. Okay, there, and to do it in a consistent way, not necessarily in a flashy way, not in a way we're taking a bunch of risks, not yet at least, just in a consistent, practical way. And what is it that we're trying to do in a consistent, practical way? Well, remember, everything comes back to these new behaviors this year. Okay, that honor more of our emotions. We were trying to do those in a more consistent and practical way after conquering some fears surrounding those things that we'd done, so that we can do them day in and day out. Not only when it feels easy, not only when it feels simple, not only when we're, feeling happy, not only when we're have the courage, but so that we can do it all the time, day in and day out, and keep with these new behaviors little by little, right? Virgo's not about these big steps, but little by little, day in and day out, to do little things to kind of help us get back on the track of these new behaviors. Hey, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention. I think somewhere also around September of last year, September 2025, we had a full moon in the opposite sign of Pisces, which was an eclipse, a lunar eclipse on the North Node here. What was that about? Well, full moons are stepping into something more fully. And of course, the eclipse is going to superpower that. And Pisces is a lot about faith and is about faith and hope. And I interpreted that as active, especially around a full moon, as taking a leap of faith, not just passively having faith that maybe something will happen, but taking a leap of faith on what? On these new behaviors. Now that we're doing them more consistently, and have conquered some fear, taking a leap of faith to do something in a new way that's more in touch with our emotions and our feelings instead of logic, responsibility, tradition, and all of that that occurred. That then leads me now to the next alignment that happened about 2 weeks after that, October, I think, around of last year, 2025. We had another new moon in Virgo, except that one now was an eclipse on the South Node there. Okay. This to me was a little bit of a challenge because it's on the South Node. New moons are about new beginnings and new energy. The South Node can indicate things feeling stuck and in the past. And Virgo, sure, yes, is about habits and daily routines, but when more negative, which is what the South Node can indicate getting stuck in overthinking, getting stuck in overworking, doing too much, over planning. That was maybe going on, or being too hard on ourselves or too critical of ourselves and others. And I think that was occurring, especially when it came to these leaps of faith that it is that we were taking. Is that we began to fall back into overthinking and worry and doubt about these leaps of faith, or work too hard to kind of make things manifest. That was kind of discouraging and be too hard on ourselves and others. Hey, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which was about 2 weeks later, that full moon in over here in the sign of Aries, okay, in October of 2025. Okay, full moons are about stepping into things we've been working towards for a while. Aries is about courage. It's also about action, doing things in those new ways that we've been discussing. And it's also not about being perfect. It's also not about thinking things through. Again, it's about kind of like flying by the seat of your pants. So I feel like what happened in October at that full moon in Aries is that we began to overcome more of that overworking and that doubt, and pick ourselves up out of it. To have more courage to continue on with these new behaviors in the way that it is that we needed, and with these leaps of faith to do things that it is that we wanted. That then leads me now to the next alignment. Happened 2 weeks after that, November of 2025. We had a new moon in the sign of Libra. New moons are about new beginnings. Libra is a lot about balance, peace, harmony. It's also a lot about relationships. Also, to being an air sign, it's about our mind. And I think what happened in November of 2025 is that we realized, okay, we're taking like these leaps of faith now, and we're following more through on it, but now we feel out of balance. We need to balance our lives. And now we need to figure out relationships, because we hadn't really been dealing with relationships. They weren't really included. And now we have to figure out how to get relationships as a part of this leap of faith that it is that we're taking, that was going on. Okay, that then leads me now. The next alignment happened about 2 weeks after, also in November of 2025. Here we had a full moon in the sign of Taurus. Full moons are about stepping into things we've been working towards for a while. Taurus is not about relationships. It's about ourselves and our own kind of stability and believing more in ourselves and being more confident kind of within ourselves. So what I think happened in November of 2025 is that, yeah, we needed to work out relationships in regards to these new behaviors that are based more on our emotions, but we weren't ready to yet. Instead, we were focusing on getting more of ourselves in order and being more at ease with this approach first, and finding our own internal balance with it first, which I think we were able to do in some way. That then leads me now to the next thing I want to talk about, which is the next new moon. I actually feel like this one was in November. Was it November? Yeah, I actually feel like this one was in November 2025 or December, right around there, but I think it was November. We had a new moon in the next sign over of Scorpio. New moons are about new beginnings. Scorpio is about change, transformation. It's also about relationships and money. Mercury was also retrograde at this time as well, in the sign of Scorpio back there too, which can be a little bit of a challenge. as well. So this was us trying to now go more deeply into the relationships, to figure out how relationships fit into these new behaviors that are honoring more of our emotions, and even money. Starting to bring money into the equation, to try to figure out more of our money surrounding it too, which may have been a bit frustrating, right? Or there may have been some issues there that needed to be fixed with relationships and money, especially from the past, in order to integrate a lot of these things together. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment I want to mention, December. Now, December of last year, 2025, we had a full moon over here in the sign of Gemini. Full moon's about stepping more fully into things. Gemini is a lot about conversations and thoughts. Here, which I think is related to those relationships and the money things we are just trying to work out. And also too, right, about adapting more, which is to these new behaviors, right? Allowing more of them to occur. So I think what happened in December of last year is that we were dealing with relationships and money more fully and trying to figure out how they integrated into these new behaviors and trying to finish having these kind of conversations with relationships, about relationships and money, and about these things from the past, to figure out how they all come together and to adapt in the ways that we needed. So it was like finishing the conversations with relationships and money to get them on board with kind of a new behavior and a new way of being. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which was in December here of 2025. Last year, we had a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius, which was in a little bit of a difficult place, squaring Saturn and Neptune. What was that about? New moons are about new beginnings. Sagittarius in some ways is about wisdom and understanding, also about excitement and optimism, being a fire sign, and sometimes too can be associated with like doing new things as well, that I think we wanted to do, especially after fixing some stuff with relationships and money. But the square to Saturn and Neptune were still making that hard, us still not feeling like we were able to fully do new things or step into these new behaviors that honored our emotions, or still not feeling like we were being lucky with the Sagittarius, still not feeling like they were really working. That's frustrating, was very frustrating, because we've been doing work this whole past year to get new behaviors, to adapt, to get ourselves in order, and for us to deal with it, and then to fix the relationships and money and get those on board. And it just still was not working. That I think was very agitating. That then leads me to the next alignment, which was the full moon that happened, I believe, the beginning of January, the last one 2 weeks ago down here in 2026 in the sign of Cancer. Okay. Full moons are all about stepping into things we've been working towards for a while. Cancer is a lot about our emotions. It's also a lot about safety, something being more grounded, taking more firm root, taking more firm hold. That's more permanently kind of within our being, that I think was starting to occur, especially because we had like a stellium of planets in Capricorn at the time that was starting to occur beneath the surface, I need to say, especially kind of after trying to organize our situation a lot better. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which is what this video is for. Also here in January of 2026, the new moon in Capricorn. Capricorn, new moons are about new beginnings. Capricorn, of course, is about managing and structuring things. But as I discussed at the beginning of this video, it's also about us trying to make decisions now about our life direction, to kind of bring more things together there that's going on, and also is related to some things from the past. And so what I think is happening now at this new moon in Capricorn is that now that we're feeling like we fixed a lot of things when it comes to these new behaviors that are based more on our emotions, where we've gotten the courage and the strength to do it, we've integrated the relationships and the money, and now that we're feeling safer, it's us really trying to make some serious decisions to really figure out how we can turn our life in this different direction, to more serious, to really figure out how we can really make these new behaviors work, really make these new behaviors finally work to make something of ourselves, to change our life direction, to get the result and the direction in life that it is that we want in order to move us forward, right? And trying to be more practical and realistic about what needs to happen there. Okay, and that's it. Because that's it, I'm going to try to summarize that very briefly, although that was a lot. But what I think has really been going on, at least this past year, is that we've been adopting new behaviors that are based more on our emotions and passions and instincts over logic, practicality, and tradition in order to eventually get us into some new, different, and better experience of life. Okay, is what we've been trying to do. It's been hard to do because I think we weren't used to these new behaviors and we're a little scared of them and what they would create in our lives. And we didn't know how to get relationships and money involved. And sometimes things just take time. That's been going on. So it's been a little bit hard for us to adopt these new behaviors, but we've done a lot of work in order to make that happen and feel safer with that. And because we've done a lot of work, we're now trying to figure out what we can do next to really make these new behaviors stick and really make these new behaviors actually create real change in our lives that can actually be seen in a way that's actually going to work. Okay, and that's it. Because that's it, I'm now just going to go back to this new moon in Capricorn, of which this video is for, and zoom more into that to give you more specifics about that and the aspects that it's making. So to do that, I'm going to place it on the chart here. Here's this new moon in Capricorn, of which this video is for. Okay, which again, right, is about us trying to, make more serious decisions about our life and the direction that we want it to go in, and better manage and structure our resources in our life in order to make it more effective and efficient in order to support that. Okay. What now do I want to take a look at? Well, what I'm going to take a look at first, I think, is going to be the fact here that this new moon is conjunct Mars in the sign of Capricorn. Okay, I want to look at that because Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn, which means Mars really, really likes to be there. And functions maybe better there than it would elsewhere. Okay, why does Mars like the sign of Capricorn? Well, Mars is about doing things. It's about kind of taking action. And it likes to be in Capricorn because Capricorn is more, right, as an earth sign, is more practical, is more realistic, has more of this long-term type of thinking. And that's helps you to do things that will actually work, right? To make action effective and efficient. When you're thinking realistically about your situation, when you're practical about it, when you're serious about something, right? The actions stick better sometimes otherwise. And that's why Mars is exalted here as well, that I think has been going on. Not only that, but maybe another thought, maybe I should have said this other one first, but Mars can also indicate where our drive is, a lot of ways to do something. And it is in Capricorn, which is about this serious managing and structuring type of energy here to get our life in a better order. So what that, and to figure kind of things out about our life. So what that means to me now here to get into this is that at this new moon in Capricorn, we're trying to better manage and structure our life and organize it and get in a better order so that we can, right, be more serious about our life direction and where it's going and make some decisions. And we're doing a good job at that with the Mars. We're doing a good job at that. We're being effective at managing and structuring our life and making it happen and bringing things together and making just things in our life feel more solid and more secure. Okay. Not only that, but another thing I'll look at next that I want to bring in very briefly is that this new moon is a bit, and so is Mars, a bit opposite Jupiter in Cancer. Now, it is a little far. I actually wasn't really going to mention it, but I just feel like I need to right now. It's about 10 degrees off, but I'm mentioning it because Jupiter is a very big planet, and therefore I do give it a bigger orb. But also, this is where the full moon was, 2 weeks ago. So it's like we're clearly still feeling it. Where that full moon was. What is that about? Well, Jupiter can expand things, make things bigger, give us more wisdom and understanding about things. And it's in Cancer. Cancer is about our sense of safety, feeling more safe, feeling more secure, feeling more grounded, from which to move forward. It can also bring the understanding about our emotions, because Cancer is about our emotions, which is what these new behaviors really that we've been trying to get are really all about as well. So not only is what's going on at this new moon in Capricorn, right, is us trying to manage and structure our life much better, and get more serious about the direction of our life and where it's going, which I need to note includes these new behaviors. If you watch the context, adopting new behaviors that are honoring more of our emotions, right? That's what we're trying to do. Get more serious, make decisions about that. And in some way it's working. We are better managing and structuring our life. We are being more serious about it, and to get things in order, which is then making us feel more safe, more secure, more grounded, and more able to kind of honor and understand our emotions and go within. Okay. That then leads me on the next thing I want to mention, which is going to be Mercury here, because Mercury is also making a conjunction with this new moon and with Mars. Okay. Now there are some things I like about this, because Mercury, the sun, and the moon are good friends. They all get along fairly well. So in some ways it's good, but in other ways it's a bit of a challenge because Mercury is near Mars. And I don't necessarily think that Mercury and Mars are necessarily the best of friends there. And Mars, even though it's exalted, is usually considered a malefic planet, which can bring more challenging things. So I'm going to give you a little bit of both. What is some of this? Well, Mercury does have a lot to do with thoughts. It does have a lot to do with conversations. And in Capricorn, again, it's about the structure. It's about managing our lives, structuring our lives, getting it in more order. It's also about the direction of our lives, thinking about that, decisions we might want to make, and being more serious there. So this is bringing a lot more thoughts and a lot more conversations about the direction of our life that we want it to go in, especially after managing and structuring things in our life, getting it more orderly and feeling more safe and secure, right? Now we're doing a lot of thinking about our life and the direction of it and where we want it to go. I think we're also doing thinking as well about what is emotionally fulfilling for us too. Emotionally fulfilling because we've got the moon there near Mercury, and also too because it's also been in an opposition with Jupiter and Cancer before this, and the days before this, that's been going on as well, which is about our emotions and what's emotionally fulfilling. We're doing a lot of thinking here that's going on about our life, right? Where we want it to go now that we're feeling safe and secure and things are in a better order. Hey, and I think that that is a good thing. But even though that's a good thing, remember, Mars can push things sometimes a little too much, too far. And this can create intense thought, right? Mars, very intense thought now about our life and the direction it's going and what's truly going to be emotionally fulfilling to us. And even too about what actions, because Mars is about action we can take that might come on strong or feel a little overwhelming, that can occur at this time. So that's the next thing that I want to say about this new moon in Capricorn is that we're managing and structuring our life better, right? And so that we can make better decisions ultimately about our future and the direction our life is going in and where we want it to go. And the managing and structuring of our life is continuing to work to get our life in a better order that's making us feel safe and secure. And because we're starting to feel more safe and more secure with our life, we're then feeling like we can do some thinking, like we can step back from some of the managing and structuring to do a little bit more thinking about our life and the big picture and where we want it to go and what's important to us and what we want to happen next and what's fulfilling for us and how we can bring everything together and how we can continue acting in different ways that honor our emotions. Okay, that's happening. But this thinking might feel a little too intense, right? Might feel a little too intense, or there might be a lot of thinking about ourselves and our life directions that could feel a little overwhelming, right? And a lot of conversations about that, very probing, okay? And about what we can do in order to bring things together. That then leads me to the next alignment that I want to mention, which is going to be a trine. No, do I want to go to that trine? Do I want to go to that? Sure, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go to the trine over here to Uranus in the sign of Taurus as well, which this new moon is making. Okay, now this alignment to me is a little bit of a mixed bag. There's something about it that's a challenge. There's also something about it that I'm going to consider positive. Okay, the challenge is that it's Uranus and Taurus, the sign it doesn't like to be in, and therefore doesn't really function that well in. The positive about it, sure, maybe is it a trine? Sometimes I interpret trines a little bit better than other aspects. But I think too, the fact that we're about to have an eclipse in Aquarius near the North Node, not this new moon, obviously, but the next new moon. as well. And I tend to see eclipses near the North Node as more helpful ones, and Aquarius is correlated to Uranus. So we're coming into the energy, even though it's not here yet, of this Uranus energy being more of what's needed at this time in order to work it out, because planets are in motion. Everything's in motion. So there's something challenging about it, but that I think is ultimately going to be very important and going to be a big area of focus very soon. What is it that's coming up that might be a little bit of a challenge? I'm going to go there first. Well, Uranus is about the sudden or the unexpected that's going on. This could be an idea or a thought, which I think definitely is some of the case with that Mercury stuff that's going on. If it's not a sudden and unexpected idea or thought, it could be some sort of news, right? Because Mercury is also involved in this, news or communication that you might get from someone else, right? Who's communicating something unexpectedly with you. If it's not some news, it could be some sort of event. Like there could be some sort of sudden and unexpected event that occurs here at this time. Hey, what is this event or idea or thought or news about? Well, Uranus is a lot about breaking free from things that are keeping us stuck. Okay, so it could be about something that's keeping us stuck still, right? That hasn't fully been fixed that we need to break free from. If not that, sometimes Uranus can indicate opportunities, innovative opportunities that maybe are coming up as well. So if it's not maybe a sudden and unexpected news or realization or event that something from the past still isn't right and needs to be fixed, it could be an unexpected idea or realization that there's some sort of opportunity now that needs to be pursued that we haven't already pursued that can help us get our freedom, feel free, or feel more authentic, another Uranus word later on. Not only that, but also too, another thought I'm going to give you here with this is that because the new moon is in Capricorn, Capricorn to me tends to be about the past. It is at a later degree of Capricorn as well, which also to me has a long history. Uranus is also at a later degree of Taurus. These to me feel like something from the past, right? I suppose it doesn't have to be, but this to me feels, in my opinion, related to the past. This is some sort of unexpected idea, news, or event that either something from the past has not fully been fixed and resolved that now we need to fix, or a sudden unexpected idea, event, or news that there's an opportunity from the past that maybe never came to fruition, or we kind of dropped the ball on that now we need to figure out in order to move forward in a way that's going to be better for us, right? And get us to a more free, authentic place that's new, different, and better. Not only that, I'm going to give you another thought about this as well. And the other thought that I'm going to give you here is that is that this thing from the past to me looks related to last September of 2025. Okay. Something that might have happened around there. Why am I going to relate it to that? Well, because that was the last eclipse season. Right. And we're coming up to eclipse season in another month again here. And usually those are related sometimes. So I think it has to do with that. And the eclipse that happened in September 2025 was a lot about taking some sort of big risk. Right. So something that maybe didn't pan out then could be coming back now to be more fully dealt with as well. That's going on, especially after fixing some of the relationships and money stuff. So I think it's something like that. And again, Uranus is startling, right? When you're unexpectedly realizing something that maybe you didn't think you'd, realize, or you didn't think now is the time, right? There's something startling about it or disorienting about it, right? That maybe you weren't planning on doing right now at this time. There's something there that can be going on, even though I think in the long term, especially coming up to an eclipse in Aquarius near the North Node, is going to be for our good, is going to help us progress, North Node, move forward into different and better experiences that it is that we need here as well. Not only do I want to mention that, but I also want to mention too that I think that this unexpected insight, if it is an insight, right, although it could be news or an event, is coming from a sense of safety and from a sense of deep introspection, right? Because we're feeling safe to think more about our life and are more in tune with our emotions and what our emotions want. Now we're realizing, maybe there's something I needed to do differently from the past I didn't do, or maybe that opportunity from the past I really do like, I really do want to pursue. And now I have to, make it work from a better place, make it work from a different perspective with a better place to kind of keep at it there as well. Okay. So keep that in mind too. So what that means to me now, to continue to bring it together here, right, is that at this new moon in Capricorn, we're still continuing to manage and structure our life, and to get it in a better place so that we can ultimately make decisions about our life and where we want it to go, and about these new behaviors that honor more of our emotions in order to bring it more together, to finally make these things stick and turn our lives in a different direction. And that in some ways is working. The managing and structuring of our life to make it more solid and secure is continuing to work to get our life in a better order, which is continuing to make us feel safer and more secure, and continuing to help us get more and more in touch with our emotions. And which is what this new behaviors in life are all about. And because we're feeling more safe and more secure, and because we're getting more in touch with our emotions as a result of this managing and structuring things, we're then doing a lot of thinking now about our life and the big stuff and where we want life to go and who we want to be and what matters to us and what is emotionally fulfilling. That's very strong, deep, and intense. And a lot of this strong, deep, penetrating thoughts that we're having now about our life and where we want it to go and what's fulfilling to us is bringing a sudden and unexpected realization, right? That either we're getting from this deep introspection, or that someone else is getting from their deep introspection that they're communicating with us about, or triggering some sort of sudden and unexpected event. And I think that this sudden, unexpected idea, insight, news, event is really about something from the past, I think around September of 2025 last year, that maybe either wasn't either fixed properly and needs to be fixed and broken free from in order to move forward, or that was an opportunity that for some reason like never came to fruition. Either we dropped the ball on it, maybe it wasn't the right time, like something about it that just never fully worked out, that now we're feeling like we want to work out. We need to work out in order to move forward, especially from a safer place where more things here are feeling more in order. Okay, that's going on. All right. That then leads me now, the next alignment that I want to mention, which is going to be Venus here making a conjunction with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. Okay. Now, this isn't my favorite thing. This isn't my favorite thing here because it's a conjunction with Pluto, which can be a bit of a challenge because it's an outer planet, which is harder for us to understand where we live, especially because we don't even know if it's a planet really. And I've changed our mind on it so many times. Here that I think can be a bit of a challenge, although I need to admit, even though there is something that's a challenge, that's how I'm going to interpret it first and foremost, I also think there's something eventually that can turn positive as well, because remember, we're going to have an eclipse in Aquarius soon, near the North Node, which to me is more positive about what we're supposed to cultivate more of. So a challenge here, but there's a silver lining, especially that's coming over the course of the next few weeks. But what is this here? Well, Venus is a lot about relationships and money. It's also about confidence. It's also about our self-worth here. That's going on. Aquarius is a lot about breaking free from things that have been keeping us stuck, and about this unexpected stuff that's been going on, right? Because Aquarius correlates to Uranus. They're related. So wherever Uranus goes, Aquarius goes. Wherever Aquarius goes, Uranus goes in any chart that you're reading. Okay. And so this is bringing, right, more of that focus on this unexpected event and on the relationships and money and our own self and about all of that and like how we can make it work. Maybe I'll say, especially because, Aquarius can be very innovative, very solutions oriented about how we can make it work. Not only that, but Venus also has to do with our value systems. And in Aquarius, it values this like breaking free, this like unexpected thing to break free from, right? That's going on. And Aquarius is an air sign, right? Also about the mind, thinking about a lot of things as well. So there's a lot of thinking now about relationships, money, our resources still, our own sense of self, and how we can make this unexpected thing work. Because we value it, right? There's something about it we value. There's something about it that's important to us, and to really get the best of this unexpected idea to move it forward, that's going on. And Pluto can sometimes bring too much of a focus on something that can be a little unbalanced and therefore also a little hard to work through. And Aquarius is about this breaking free from things, is about the thinking in our mind, is also about breaking free from things are in our mind. Also, another thought I'll give you too is that Aquarius is not very action oriented. It's a sign in the mind, the air sign, and kind of zoning out, right? Detaching. That's how we, like Aquarius is cold and detached, right? Especially being the second sign of winter. Like it's all very cold and icy out there a lot of times. So it's got this like kind of cold and detached feeling. So what that means to me with the Venus and Pluto is that, yeah, we're doing a lot of thinking about relationships and money and our own self and how we can make this unexpected thing kind of work for us because we value it. There's something about it that's important to us that we think is going to be helpful for us, but we're still getting stuck in the mind, especially with Mercury still conjunct Mars, right? Like we're still getting stuck in the mind. We're overthinking it, or we're feeling like there's so much to think about. There's so much to think about what our life could be and how our life could be it and how we're going to get relationships and money that it's becoming overwhelming there for us. Not only are we feeling like there's so much to think about that's overwhelming, but that we don't quite have the answers. Right? We don't quite have the answers about what to do with this unexpected thing or about how to handle it there as well. That's making us feel like we're not ready to do things, right? We need to just zone out. I don't know. I can't handle this. I want it. I want something unexpected. I want to break free. I want to pursue different opportunities, but it's too much. I don't know how it's going to work. Everything, I can't deal, like it can bring that sort of feeling. Not only that, but another thing I should have mentioned as well is that Aquarius also has to do with technology, which I usually associate to being like feeling wired, can't go to sleep, can't focus, anxious and nervous, right? Especially if there's something unexpected coming up and I don't know what to do with it and everything feels crazy and I can't handle this anymore, right? It's like, right? And especially if we're not doing anything to work with the unexpected event, right? And nothing's happening, there's this nervous and anxious energy around here as well that I think is happening that maybe we're not quite sure kind of how to deal with. That's going on. Okay. We're not quite sure how to deal with that can be making us feel, like there is like this very frustrated kind of feeling. Maybe I'll even include like this trapped, right? Aquarius likes freedom, but there's this, especially because we haven't had a new moon in Aquarius yet. We don't have as many planets in Aquarius yet. And we've got this restrictive Capricorn energy with the Saturn. Well, there's something about us that's still feeling kind of trapped and not where we want to be yet. That's going on. And maybe as well, another thought I'll give you is that Venus is about stability and Aquarius kind of upend stability because it's all about innovation and the unexpected, right? And there's a part of us too that's afraid that if we pursue, there's fear, Pluto brings fear, afraid that if we pursue these unexpected events, even though a part of us deep down really wants to, that it's going to create some instability after we just spent the past few days and weeks trying to get our life in order and trying to manage it better, that now is feeling very frustrated there too. Okay, that's going on. All right. So what does that mean now to continue bringing it together? What that means to me is that at this new moon in Capricorn, we're still trying to better manage and structure our life to get it in a better order. That's going on. And not only are we trying to do that, but we're also trying to think more seriously about our life and the direction that it's going in and what's more fulfilling to us. And also too, about how we can continue adopting some new behaviors, which we've been trying to do since the beginning of 2025 that honor our emotions in a way that's more permanent, more long lasting, that's going to be more enduring, more a part of our life after this point. That's what is going on. And us, at least the managing and structuring part of our situation to make it more organized has been working and continues to work to help us feel like our life is in a better place. And because it's continuing to work to make us feel like our life is in a better place, we're continuing to feel more safe and more secure in our life. Okay, maybe not extremely safe, all the way safe and secure, but more safe and more secure within our current position and within what kind of life is asking of us right now. And we're able to go inwards to understand our emotions and what they need and what life direction would be the most fulfilling to us, and what behaviors we could take in order for that to occur. And us feeling safer, safe enough to go inwards, then brings a lot of thoughts and a lot of conversations with ourselves and others about those things, about what we're feeling and what we feel safe enough to pursue and about what we want in our lives. And these conversations that we're having about our life direction and what we want is then triggering something unexpected, an unexpected insight, news, or an event that either we're having or someone we're connecting with is having, that's going on that could be very startling, that maybe we didn't think now was the time or was going to happen. And I think that this event or insight that's unexpected is related to something from the past, probably from September 2025, that either wasn't done properly and needs to be fixed, or that was an opportunity, a very good thing that for some reason just never manifested. Either we dropped the ball or just never wasn't the right timing, just never came together, that now is on our minds to finally pursue, to finally make happen, now that we're feeling safer and more secure and more organized, to usher us into a new way of being. And this unexpected thing that's coming up, even though it's very startling in a lot of ways, it's important to us, right? It's important to us. And there's something about it that we feel is valuable that we want to pursue, which is then bringing even more thoughts and conversations, okay? But not thoughts and conversations about our feelings and what we want from our life, but thoughts and conversations about this unexpected thing and that we need to get our freedom, and about that and how we can make that happen with relationships, with money, about what needs to be done there or responded to in order to move that forward. And that's a fine thing, but it's getting to be a lot. It's getting to be a lot of thoughts, a lot of conversations about ourselves and relationships and money and about this unexpected stuff, that it's overwhelming us. Not only that, but we're starting to get afraid again of like, maybe it won't work. Maybe there's something wrong going on, or doubtful of what will occur. Maybe there's a worry that things are going to be unstable. That's making us very anxious and nervous and wired. That then is making us just want to back out and zone out and just not deal with this unexpected event. Not because it's necessarily a bad thing, but because it just feels like too much. It just feels like too much for us, and like very scary and overwhelming at this time. That can be a bit hard. Okay. So what then is the advice? Maybe do I want to go there? Right. Yeah, I think that's most of what I want to say here. What then is the advice in order to give you some of that? Well, I think that, yeah, because there's a lot of frustration. Yeah. Right. Anxiety, maybe some anger too. I didn't focus on that. There could be some. But what then is the advice? Maybe I'll go over here to the sextile. I think I maybe wanted to mention this a little bit earlier, but I'll go over to the fact that, what I want to do. No, I'll go over to the fact that the new moon here, that's what I wanted, the eraser. The new moon at 28 degrees Capricorn is making a sextile to both Saturn and Neptune here in the sign of Pisces. So I'm going to use this as advice for right now, right? How do we handle this situation? Well, I think part of the advice on how to handle this situation is going to be this. And it's because sextiles I tend to like. Sextiles to me do indicate some sort of opportunity to really help us work something out, because sextiles occur between signs of complementary elements. In this case, Capricorn, which is earth, and Pisces, which is water, right? And earth and water like each other, right? Plants and the earth need water in order to grow. They help each other out. Okay. So there's something very good going on here. What is this? Well, Saturn and Neptune are both in Pisces. Okay. Pisces is about patience. Okay, not only is Pisces about patience, it's about hope and faith. Not only is it about patience, hope, and faith, it's also more about introspecting. Okay, not only is it about introspection and introspecting, maybe there's also a little bit of resting there, taking it easy, being kind and compassionate to yourself. It's also a bit too about our intuition and focusing more on that as well. That's going on, maybe even making a little bit of a commitment to that. That's happening too. It's also too as well about releasing the past, kind of being the last sign of the zodiac as well. So the advice that I want to give you here with this is not that we need to force a decision right away, because clearly we're a little stressed. We're a little anxious. We're a little nervous. We're a little afraid. We're a little all in the head. We don't want to deal. So to me, the way to resolve this that's going on is not to force a decision, is not to force a behavior, is not to force something to occur. It's to give yourself time, right? Give yourself time to emotionally, right? Pisces is a water sign, to emotionally process what is going on here, this unexpected thing, or this thing that you're feeling, or this thing that's coming up, to emotionally process it and to internally process it, and to connect with your emotions and with your intuition, with your higher self about those things, maybe even, right, to get different perspectives, and to rest, to be at ease, to not put pressure on yourself and to be compassionate towards yourself and whatever it is that you want to do or have done in the past, and compassionate towards other people, and to try not to fall back right into old habits and behaviors, which could be victimization, feeling sad for yourself, right? To try not to fall back into that and to remain hopeful that you're going to figure something out. Okay. Especially too, another thought that I'll give you is like, we're going to have 2 weeks from now after this new moon in Capricorn, a full moon in Leo, right? Right? Leo's very bold. Leo's more active. It's a fire sign. It's more about risk taking as well. So at that full moon in Leo 2 weeks from now, that's when we're going to need to take the risk, right? Especially because full moons are also about decisions, since they're a function of an opposition. And that's also when we have more clarity, right? Because that's when the moon is the brightest in the sky. So, right. And Leo's about bold action, and also too can be about risk taking as well. So to me, the advice on how to handle this unexpected insight and feeling that's going on is not take bold action now, today, just do it, just go for it, just make it happen, figure everything out. No, the way to handle, to me, this unexpected thing is like sleep on it. Right? Literally, Pisces, sleep. With the sex on Pisces about sleep on it for a few days, a week or two, sleep on it. Chill out. You know what I mean? Like work through your emotions, because I think there might be some emotional blockages here around some of this. Like give yourself some grace and some compassion and some time to process it and to tune into your intuition, because I think if you can do that, right, and be patient, then when we get 2 weeks from now at that full moon in Leo, you'll have more of that clarity about what to do with this thing, which I think is to do something with it, to move forward, and more of that bravery and more of that boldness and that courage in order to do something with it as well. Because I think this unexpected thing, whatever it is really needed, is a thing that's needed in order to move us into a new, different, and better experience of life, right? Which I've been talking about for quite some time that's going on. Okay. And I think that's it, because that's all I'm going to say now about the specific aspects. I'm just going to repeat all of that one last time without the jargon before I move on to some other things. So let me do that now. What I think is going on at this new moon in the sign of Capricorn is that we're trying to continue better managing and structuring our current life and our current experience to get it in more of an order and be more serious, responsible, and practical about that, so that we can start to think more seriously about our life and where we want it to go and these big questions, and make some decisions about that. Okay. And the managing and structuring part of our current experience is actually really working. Okay. It's actually really working to continue to get our life in a better place. And because we're continuing to get our life in a better place, we're feeling safer emotionally within ourselves and more secure and more able to honor our emotions. That's going on. And because we're feeling more ordered in our environment, more safe and secure and able to tune into our emotions, we then are tuning into our emotions and into our life. And we're starting to think more seriously about our life and the direction we want it to go in and what's meaningful for us and how we can create that. And this deep introspection, we're really probing, we're really getting deep. This deep introspection is then bringing up something sudden and unexpected from either us or someone we're connecting with. And it's bringing up a sudden and unexpected insight, news, or event that's going on, that's startling, right? We weren't planning on it, that's shaken up our experience that we're going to need to deal with. And this unexpected, idea, news, or event to me is something from the past, probably from September 2025, that either wasn't fully fixed and resolved, that now needs to be fixed and broken free from, or is an opportunity, a good thing, a good thing from September of 2025 that for some reason just never came to fruition, that now we need to finish, that now we need to bring to fruition in order to move forward. That's going to be key to our freedom and to a new experience that is then triggering a lot more thoughts, except this time not about our emotions necessarily and our life direction, but about the unexpected thing itself and about how we can handle that and how we can adjust our relationships and money and our own sense of self to deal with this unexpected thing, because it needs to be dealt with. And I think there's a part of us that feels deep down like it's very, very important. But all of these thoughts about how to work with this unexpected thing is then getting to be too much, because there's so many thoughts and there's so many ideas and so many things we could do that it's keeping us in the head, making us very anxious and nervous, and starting to bring up a lot of fear now about what's going to happen. What if we do this and why it didn't happen before? In doubt that's overwhelming us, making us frustrated, right? Anxious. Maybe there's some anger going on here at ourselves and others because we're so distracted and there's so many things going on that can be hard. That's making us want to zone out and just not deal. We just can't deal with it. It's just too much, right? Because we're worried about a lot of things that's going on that may cause really nothing productive to happen quite yet with this unexpected thing that's going on, right? And have us feel a little stuck and uncertain in regards of what to do about this thing and actually indecisive about it. So what then is the advice? The advice then about how to handle this unexpected thing that has now come up here is not to force yourself to deal with it, push yourself to deal with it sooner, faster to resolve it, is not maybe even in some ways to think extra hard about it. No, the way to deal with it is to calm your emotions, is to calm down, is to chill out, rest, sleep on it for a few days, maybe a week or so when it comes to this unexpected thing, to give yourself more time to process it and not process it logically, process it emotionally and get more used to it emotionally, and to tune into your intuition and your higher self and be more compassionate to yourself and others, whoever's involved, and to have more just hope and faith that things are going to work out just fine. Because if you can do that, you're eventually, especially I think 2 weeks from now at that next full moon in Leo, going to get more clarity, a lot more clarity about what to do with this unexpected thing, and a lot more bravery and courage in order to actually make a decision and follow through with the decision that's going to honor your emotions, right? In order to bring more things together that's going to make you happy, to get you into a new, different, and better experience of life that's going on. Okay, and that's it. All right, because that's it, what I like to do next in the video is to basically just offer some thoughts on this, on what I've just discussed, on this new moon in Capricorn, but to offer it in a different way, because so far in this video, I kind of have had to be beholden to the astrology, right? What the aspects are. But sometimes I think it helps to kind of think about the astrology in a different way that's not as beholden, but that's more free flowing, where we can talk more about concepts. So that's what I'm going to do now there. And I'm just going to see what comes to me. I usually don't always plan out this section. So let's see. What do I want to say here? Let me get a drink for a minute. Okay. I want to see if some of you all, I want to make sure some of you all are aware of what's been going on, right, the past few weeks. Okay. And so let me give you the past stuff, and then I'll connect with more of the stuff that's going on now and in the next few months and the unexpected. Okay. What's been going on in the past the year, astrological year, which is from Aries season to Aries season, right? Which was around March of 2025, March and April of 2025. We've been adopting new behaviors, right? That are based more on our emotions, our instinct, our impulses, our passions, and not on logic, responsibility, tradition, seriousness, or what we should do to gain social status or appear a certain way for other people, right? That's what we've been trying to do since, March of last year, 2025, okay? And we actually have, I want to say, especially as of like that new moon in Sagittarius in December of 2025, actually, I think done that. Adopted these new behaviors, right? Adopted the new behaviors, right? Worked out our own emotions surrounding them, right? Because I think there were a lot of issues emotionally with that, some fears and insecurities, right? Found our balance with it, and taken some preliminary actions. Maybe there's that, taken some early action, and also worked out some of the relationships and some of the money component to factor them into these new ways of doing things that's been going on. Okay. So maybe I want to start there with that, of like, since March of 2025 to now, we've been trying to adopt new behaviors that are based more on our emotions and our passions and impulses. And I think we have made significant progress with that. Okay. without a doubt. Like, that's my opinion. And the progress that I think we've made is all of these things. We've adopted these new behaviors, okay, which maybe corresponds with taking action on them. We've actually started to take action to honor our emotions and follow our passions and what is emotionally fulfilling to us. We've also adjusted emotionally to them to overcome some fears and find our balance. And we also, too, have worked out some of the relationships and money to figure out how it's going to factor in to these behaviors, right? Because if we want to follow our emotions, we kind of need some of the relationships and money to be in order, because a lot of times what our emotions want have to do with money, have to do with relationships, right? So we have done those things, and maybe I should label them. I know I wrote like a list of things here, but maybe I should put them into 3 categories just to make them clear. What we've done in the past year really is we've taken action on new behaviors. Okay. And we've worked out our emotions, right? And we've adjusted 3 relationships and money. Okay. I do think that's happened, whether it feels like it or not, right? Maybe that's another story for some of you, but I do feel like these things have happened, right? So then where does that leave us now when it comes to this new moon in Capricorn, of which this video is for, right? Well, one thing I want to say that I haven't mentioned actually in this video about the sign of Capricorn is that Capricorn is a cardinal sign. Okay. All the cardinal signs start seasons, right? So Capricorn starts winter in the Northern Hemisphere, right? Aries is a cardinal sign. It starts spring. Cancer starts summer. Libra starts fall there, right? And when you're a cardinal signs, because they start seasons, they start things, and they start things going in a different direction than they were before, right? I think we can say that the weather significantly changes once we get to winter, once we get to summer, right? Because these also just happen to be the points where the equinoxes and the solstices occur, right? The winter solstice happens here in Capricorn season, so they change the direction of things. And so Capricorn, what's trying to happen now with this new moon in Capricorn is it's saying, okay, we've done everything. And I think in this case, we've done everything right. And maybe that's another thing I need to note, right? Capricorn is about past behaviors, the result of our past behaviors, okay? Because that's why Capricorn does have a lot to do with integrity, like doing things right, doing things the right way, right? Because if you do things the right way, it makes this a lot easier. Do you see? So the new moon in Capricorn, sorry, I've brought a few concepts there, but the new moon in Capricorn is saying, okay, from the past, we've been in the past cycle, right? We've been trying to adopt new behaviors based on more of our emotions. We've done a lot of things right here. We've started to get the actions and take the action. We've adjusted our emotions internally to work that out. We've adjusted the relationships and money. Now the Capricorn is asking, what else can we do to finally turn the ship? What can we do to finally turn the ship around? What else needs to be done here to really learn this lesson, to really get these new behaviors going, to really make sure that these new behaviors are a part of our lives, in a public way, with Capricorn being the highest part of the chart, in a way that's more long lasting, in a way that's actually going to work? And what decisions do we need to make now to kind of bring all of it together with what we've already learned from the past, right? That I think is happening here. Okay. So I think that's some of my thoughts. Yeah. We've been trying to get new behaviors, honoring more of our emotions and more impulses and our passions. We have done a lot of good things the past few months. We've started to take the actions. We've worked out some of our emotions, fears and anxieties regarding that. We've got the relationships and money. We've tried to factor that into it. And now is serious time. Capricorn, now is serious time. What seriously can we do now to bring all of this stuff together and to make sure it doesn't get lost, to make sure it doesn't get scattered, to make sure we don't forget about this lesson, so that we can really bring it together to turn our entire life in this direction of these new behaviors to make sure that they're actually going to work? And what decisions do we need to make here? Okay, so I think that's what's going on now. Okay. not only is it about that, but this also too, and I did talk about this a little bit more at the full moon because I think it was more of a thing at the full moon than it is now. This now to me feels more about decisions, but Capricorn too is also about managing and structuring our life so that we can feel more safe with our resources to do what we need to do as well. So not only is this Capricorn energy saying now, okay, I've been trying to adopt new behaviors for a year. I've done everything right. What now can I do to really seal the deal, right? Seal the deal, lock it in. We got to lock in on this thing, to make sure it really is going to take my life in a totally different direction, to really be decisive and to make sure this thing is going to work. But also, what do I need to feel safe enough in order to make this decision, in order to step into these new behaviors as well, right? It's a lot of that I think has been going on. And I think as of this new moon in Capricorn, of which this video is for, we are feeling safe and secure, right? In more in our lives. Okay, from which to, well, don't want to go there, right? We're feeling more safe and secure from which to now make decisions, from now which to figure things out, okay? Because we needed that. Because I'm going to go back to the safety and security thing for a minute, because I think that is part of what's missing. You know, even though we've been adopting these new behaviors, right, in various ways for the past year, right, it still hadn't come together. It still hasn't come together, which I think is another reason why the Capricorn is here, to really think seriously about what it needs to come together so that we're no longer indecisive or waffling, right, but so that we can get things together, right? That's what Capricorn likes. You know, don't run me around. Don't tell me you're going to do something and then you're not. You know, are you going to do it or are you not, right? Like, we needed that. And so another thought, I'm kind of backtracking now a little, but another thought here is that we have been adopting new behaviors since March of 2025, more in touch with our emotions. We have made significant progress to start taking the actions, to adjust our emotions and to adjust our relationships and money to make it come together, but it still hasn't come together quite yet in the way that we need to make these new behaviors work. So the new moon in the Capricorn that's happening now is asking, okay, what do you need to make it come together? And how can we more completely lock this different behavior in to really turn our lives in this direction and stop waffling or stop being confused about whether or not we're doing these behaviors or not and where our life is going, and like make sure we're going in this different direction. Okay, that's happening, of which safety was a big part of it, which we talked about 2 weeks ago, right? Because we need to have an internal sense of safety, right, within ourselves, within our relationships and money in order to make the best decisions, okay? Which I think we did have, okay? And now that we have that, and now that the Capricorn energy is here, now we're doing that deep introspecting. Okay, now is where I'm going to go into the future. Now we're doing that deep introspecting and thinking about our lives and about how we can bring everything together, okay? Right? Do you see? Because we've made a lot of progress. It still isn't coming together, right? And now we feel safe enough in order to do it. And the deep introspecting that is coming up about how do I turn my life around to really adopt these new behaviors now that I feel safe is then leading to some sort of unexpected or sudden or unusual. I guess it doesn't have to be unexpected. I mean, it could just be like unusual thing coming up in your life, which I think is either an idea, news, or an event. Could be one, could be two, could be all three, or it could be one first that translates into another, another one here that's happening. Okay. And this is really where we now start to get into the heart of the interpretation, right? There are a lot of things I could say about the managing and the structuring of things, I should note, and about the safety that I've kind of been on the border of here, but that was really last full moon. That was last full moon in Cancer 2 weeks ago, where we talked about this. The real heart of this new moon is not all of the safety stuff that's happening, even though it's still kind of a theme because the new moon is actually still in Capricorn. It's actually more of this Uranus stuff, this unexpected stuff that's coming up. That's really what is the energy we're going into. That's the energy that needs to be worked out. Okay. Now, when it comes to this unexpected thing that's coming up, right? I said it could be an idea, news, or an event that's unexpected or startling. What is this related to? Okay. Now let me give you a few thoughts, right? This could be, sure, something, it feels to me like something from the past because we are in Capricorn season, which has to do with the past. And also too, because a lot of these things are happening at the last degrees, the later degrees of a sign, which are also about the past. It feels to me something about from the past. Okay. Now this could be, I'll give you some options, something from last year around like the October time period of 2025 when we had Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, because that was the time I believe Uranus retrograded back into into Taurus from Gemini. And what was going on in October of 2025? Well, we were trying to fix some things with relationships and money so that they could be integrated into a new, different, and better experience of life, right? And into these new behaviors that are honoring more of our emotions that was happening, right? So it could be something in regards to that October time period, right? Maybe there was something from October that you were trying to fix with relationships and money to integrate them into new behaviors so that you can do your follow your emotions and follow your passion. And maybe something wasn't fixed properly there, or wasn't fully fixed all the way, or wasn't fully resolved there at this time, right? Which is connected because Uranus was involved there. Mercury was retrograde opposite Uranus, and now Uranus is involved in this alignment here as well. So it could be something in regards to that. Like there's something that just wasn't fixed then that needs to be fixed and resolved in order for you to move forward into a new, different, and better experience of life, right? We can't move into a new, different, and better experience of life if we're not doing new behaviors. And if there's something about relationships and money that will not allow us to do the new things that we need. So it could be something in regards to that, that time period there. Okay. If it's not fixing something, right, from that time period, and maybe another thought I should give you as well, if this is fixing something, before I move on, from October of 2025, which is last year, to me, it's more of like the breaking free from it. There's something about breaking free from it, like fixing it by breaking free, which in many ways means releasing or ending something. Maybe there was something that you talked a lot about in October, but you didn't fully like make the decision to end it or release it or break free from it. Okay. And now that needs to happen. Okay, so it's not just going back to relationships and money from October to finish fixing. There's a need of like making a firm decision, drawing a firm line in the sand, breaking free from something, or letting it go, letting something go. Okay, so that it doesn't get the best of you anymore. Okay, there's a liberation kind of energy here, which I think for a lot of you may mean ending certain things with relationships and money. Okay, if it's not related to that, then another thing this could be related to as well could be a time period right before that, September of last year, 2025. Okay. And in September of last year, 2025, we had a full moon lunar eclipse here in the sign of Pisces as well. And I think it could be related to that because we're coming up to eclipse season, the next new moon. And usually eclipse seasons are connected, so it could also be something in regards to that. And what was happening last eclipse season around September 2025 when we had that full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces? Well, if you watched my videos at the time, it was about taking a risk, taking a leap of faith to do something that emotionally you were feeling called to do or was going to help you emotionally, right? So it could be related to that there. And what does that mean? Well, that could mean that maybe some of you started something in September of 2025, started some kind of risk or leap of faith to honor your emotions, but maybe especially at that new moon eclipse that came in Virgo after it, maybe you kind of dropped the ball on it or just didn't follow through on it or just didn't finish it all the way. Maybe you got like scared, or maybe like the money, right? It's like the relationships and the money. Maybe you felt like the money just like wasn't there, right, to do the thing that you wanted to do with this leap of faith in order for you to follow through, right? So it could be you picking back up on that leap of faith you started in September of 2025 that honors your emotions that you didn't follow through on, and picking that up now after Capricorn season, after you've figured out the money and the relationships a little bit better, after you've gotten the money in a little bit more of a secure place to enable you to take the risk, to take the leap of faith that you wanted to do. Okay, if it's not that, I'll give you another thought as well about what this could be. If this isn't you realizing unexpectedly, oh, hey, I wanted to do this in September, and maybe now I can do what I wanted to do in September that I dropped the ball on because now my money is in a better place. This could be something else. Perhaps what some of you did in September of 2025 didn't rely on you alone, right? A lot of things in life don't rely on us alone. Sometimes we need other people to be involved, right? Especially for applying for jobs or things like that. So maybe there was something in September of 2025 that you took a leap of faith on, you took a risk for, it involved someone else, and it just never panned out. Maybe there was a job opportunity that never got back to you. Maybe there was, who knows what it is, something else that you needed for some reason. It just wasn't the right time. It just didn't work out. You just weren't on the same page, all of that. This could be an opportunity coming back from September 25. So something you pursued in September 25 that didn't pan out, all of a sudden coming back, right? And it didn't pan out, not because of you, right? Maybe you did everything great. It just wasn't the right time for some reason. Something just wasn't aligning. Well, now it could come back. Something from September 25 that you took the leap of faith on. Maybe now you get a call from that job. Oh, hey, you applied back in September. Sorry, we were busy. We didn't have the funds then at the company to hire somebody new. We had to fix relationships and money and get those in better order. Now we're ready to hire. Could be someone calling you back, could be an opportunity that you felt was dropped or lost in September 2025, now coming back to you unexpectedly to be like, hey, remember me? Hey, remember me? What is going to go on here? Do we want to work together or do we not, to really bring things forward? Okay. So keep that in mind. It could be either, it could be or, right? It could be all of the above that's happening, right? And that's why I say too, it's like, it could be an idea, right? Because for some of you, this is an idea of like, oh, something happened, I did something in September 2025 that I didn't finish, right? That's an unexpected idea of like, oh shit, maybe I should finish that now. It could be news or conversation, right? Especially if it's an opportunity that was dropped in 2025. Maybe it's an unexpected calling you on the phone. Hey, inquiring about this that you did then, or it could be an event, right? As a result of something that the seed that was planted back then as well. So it could be either of, or all of the above. Now I will say I lean more towards the opportunity. I lean more towards this leap of faith in September 2025 that maybe never quite panned out, coming back over the fixing of things, over the not fully fixing things from the past. Okay. That's what I like better, because I really did. I really did feel like in October, we really did fix things that needed to be fixed. So I feel like it's more that like an opportunity coming back to move us forward, but it could be both. Astrology is not an exact science. I'm just a human. You know what I mean? Like sometimes there are things that maybe I don't get right on some of the details here, but I lean, it could be both fixing something and could be both a new opportunity here that's coming, could be either or both. And I lean more towards the opportunity now to move you forward coming more so than the fixing, but right, could be both together. Maybe it's both at once here that needs to happen. Okay. What else do I want to say? Another thought that I want to add here is that whatever this opportunity is, or this unexpected thing, right, which could be you fixing something, there's something about it that you cannot move into a new experience without it happening. Okay, right? Because it's a whole thing we've been talking about for a long time, is we're trying to get into a new, different, and better experience of life, right? And there's something about, we cannot get into a new, different, and better experience of life without whatever this unexpected thing is that's coming up happening. There's something about it that's really key and that's really crucial. Okay. So either we cannot get into a new and different experience until we fully fix the relationships, fully fix the money, break free from it, end it, resolve it, let it go. Or we cannot truly get into a new, different, and better experience until this opportunity falls into place. Like there's something about it that has to happen first, right? Has to, in order for the new experience to happen. And so when I say that there's something unexpected coming up, I'm trying to share with you that there's something super key about it, super important. Remember in my last video for the full moon in Cancer, the cornerstone. There's the cornerstone to a new life that is trying to fall into place. There's something about this thing that's the cornerstone. And that's also why I prefer the new opportunity falling into place instead of the fixing things, right? Even though they could both be related. There's something about, there's this new opportunity unexpectedly that's either coming back to you or that you're realizing you need to pursue. That's the cornerstone of a new experience. Okay. And that once you do this thing or pursue this opportunity, you're going to be in the new experience after it happens. Okay. And a very different life experience after that. So that's also really important to note that this is the thing that's going to make the new experience arrive, which is definitely going to happen by March or April of this year. Okay. When Saturn and Neptune enter Aries more permanently, which is the first sign of the zodiac. Okay. There's something like key, like this is the thing that's going to make the new experience finally real, finally happen, finally tangible, finally something I can see and touch and feel. Okay. Another thought that I want to note as well, right? And yes, right. And that's why, that's why I prefer, back on that note, this unexpected thing that's coming up. Another reason why I prefer it being some sort of opportunity that never quite manifested last year, finally kind of happening, because I think we're trying to get into a new, different experience. And eventually there comes a time where we need something to start to solidify, right? Where we need something to manifest the new, right? It's not enough to just end old things. It's not enough to just end and fix old things. We've been doing that for 5 years at least. Okay. At some point, something new has got to start to come together. And so I'm just feeling like, sure, maybe this is fixing old things. I'm sure that's a part of it. But I feel like whatever is this unexpected thing, it's something new that needs to come together, right? That needs to come together in order to move forward, right? Okay. Even though it could be a lot of fixing and ending and releasing something from the past. Okay. Another thought that I want to note is that once this unexpected thing comes up, whatever it is, it's going to take time to work out, okay? It's going to take time to work out until about that March or April time period when both Saturn and Neptune, right? They both have to be in Aries, and then we're going to have the new astrological year, Aries season, which we also need as well, which happens at the end of March. So it's going to take, and where are we now? We're in January, right? January to February, February to March. It's going to take at least 2 months. So that's another thing that I want to note. Even though there's something unexpected now, it's super key. It's the cornerstone that's going to claim our stake our claim in like a new and better experience of life to make it actually real and make it actually happen here. It's not actually going to come together till March or April when the new experience is going to manifest. And there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out in between now and March, right? The end of March, the beginning of April, when that occurs. Hey, what is it that needs to be worked out? Well, I think that there are a lot of maybe more internal things that need to be worked out around, like, right, how we're feeling about all of this and whatnot. And I think too, it is a lot of details that are still going to have to be worked out and negotiated, right? I think we're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo as well at some point in the next month and a half. There's a lot of details that are still going to need to be worked out about a lot of things, that doesn't just happen overnight. That doesn't just happen in a week, especially not when we're dealing with something as significant as what we're dealing with now, right? What we're dealing with now is the cornerstone of the new life, right? And the final ending of the old one. This doesn't just happen in a week. It's not like, in a week we're going to do it. When you're dealing with the cornerstone and the laying of something in of long cycles going on here, it takes time to really figure out what's going on and to really figure out how to do it and to put these old things to rest and move on. So I think that's another thing that I need to note, is that even though there's something unexpected coming up here, and I actually like it as being the thing, right? I like it as being the thing that's going to help us move forward kind of into new, different, and better experience. It's not going to happen in the next week. It's going to take us, I think, about 2 months. But 2 months really isn't that long compared to what we've been through. It's going to take us 2 months to kind of work out more of the details and adjust more of our emotions and to kind of prepare for that. Okay. And to kind of figure out how to make it work. Okay. Not only do I want to note that, but I also want to note as well that within those 2 months, especially the next 2 weeks in particular, right? The next 2 weeks out of the next 2 months, there's going to be a lot of anxiety around this thing, around this unexpected thing. Here, should you do it? Should you not? Is it going to be good? Is it not? Right? There's still a lot of anxiety and maybe some fear around that as well. That's going to come up, right? That's the first 2 weeks of the next, 8 weeks out of the next 2 months, right? And over the course of the next 8 weeks, it'll be different things. Maybe I think at one point it's going to be a lot of negotiations that are going to come up with relationships and money here in details as well. But for now, it's a lot of inner stuff these next 2 weeks about, like, how do I feel about this unexpected thing? Do I really want to fix this? Do I really want to pick something up from September 25, move forward? And is it for me? And how do I do it? Right? It's like, that's what's coming up here. Hey, now I want to note as well that in these next 2 weeks in particular, as these unexpected things are coming up and we're considering, do I want to do the unexpected thing? And there's a lot of anxiety and nervousness. There are going to be some fears triggered. But remember, I think we've done quite a good job at fixing a lot of those, right? Especially since that last full moon in Aquarius, which is going to be tied to the next new moon in Aquarius coming up. Okay, I think we've done a good job at fixing those things. So even though there are going to be fears, even though there are going to be insecurities that are coming again, we're not going to let those get the best of us and stop us from doing these new, different, and better things, or these new behaviors and pursuing these unexpected things and moving them forward. We're just not going to let them, okay? Because we've healed a lot of that, and a lot, maybe not all of it, but a lot of it. And healing fear and anxiety doesn't mean we don't feel fear and anxiety. We still feel it. It just means that we don't let it get the best of us and stop us from doing things we want to do. So that's another thing that I want to imply is that, yeah, something unexpected has come up. It's going to take us 2 months to resolve these things in a lot of different ways that's going on, to come at it from a lot of different angles, but we are going to resolve it in 2 months, and it is going to get us into a new, different, and better experience. And the first, and the reason, right, the first thing that we're going to have to deal with in this 2-month period of working out this unexpected thing is a lot of internal fear and anxiety of like, should we do it? Should we not? How do we do it? What does this mean? That we're just going to have to work through, but that we are going to work through and pass just fine because we've healed a lot of that. And healing doesn't mean no fear and anxiety. It just means that we're not going to let it get the best of us, which we aren't at that next full moon in Leo. And we're going to take a bold risk here, again, to kind of move things forward. So I hope that's clear there too on that. Okay. Another thought here too is that the way to, continue to overcome these fears, because there is a lot of fear and anxiety about these unexpected things that are coming up, right? And maybe I should say, what are these fears and anxieties about this unexpected thing that's coming up? Well, a lot of these fears and anxieties are a lot of the same ones we've been having, because again, we're at the end of the astrological year. It's like there's nothing really new at the end of the astrological year. It's a lot of old stuff. It's a lot of old fear and anxiety around like, should I do it or should I not? Is it the right thing to do? Especially with some of the Capricorn. Is it traditional? Is it, what are other people going to think? Is it logical, right? There's a lot of fears. And is it going to create instability? Do I have the money for it? Or how are the relationships? There's a lot of there's a lot of doubts. It's like a lot of old stuff coming up again around, should we do this thing? And how are we going to make it work? I mean, that's what it is, and some doubts around it. So it's not necessarily new things that are happening here. Okay. The next thing is, how do we resolve, how do we handle the fears and anxieties, right? That we're definitely going to overcome, right? It's the Pisces. You have to calm down, and nurture your emotions and work through your emotions and rest and be more at peace and not get too in the head, right? That's also a lesson we've been learning this whole year. It's like not get too in the head, not resort into overthinking and overworking, and calm down and be at peace and let it play out naturally here that's needed. So I think that's what I want to say here in terms of the other notes is like, we've been this whole year, to kind of summarize it, this whole year, really since March of 2025, we've been trying to adopt new behaviors that are based more on our emotions and passionate impulses instead of logic, tradition, responsibility, and what we think we should do, because it's those new behaviors that are going to get us into a new, different, and better experience of life that we actually like. Okay. Over the course of the past few months since then, we have been doing a good job at adopting those new behaviors. We have started to take action on them a little. We've worked out some emotional fears and insecurities and blockages. And we've also tried to work out the relationships and money to factor them into the equation. But even though we've done a very good job working things out, I think we've done everything we've needed. For some reason, we still feel a little stuck, or we still felt like things aren't really where they need to be. So we stopped to create some security and some safety within our emotions and our nervous system in order to really accurately assess what's going on. And we've created that safety in our nervous system and in our emotions to assess what's going on with these new behaviors and why we're stuck, and allow us to go inwards to really think through things deeply and figure things out. And our deep introspection has now made us realize that we're in a much better place. We're in a much better place to fix some things from the past that either were not fixed since October of 2025, or to pursue some opportunity from the past, I think September of 2025, that either just wasn't the right time for, or that we dropped the ball on, or that didn't come to fruition. And to finally either fix that or move that forward, which is going to be the cornerstone, the final piece falling into place, to help us move into a new, different, and better experience, even though it's going to take us, I think, at least 2 months to really work out what this thing is, and to fix all of it, and for it all to finally come together. And during the first 2 weeks of these next few months, these next 2 months, the issue here is that there's a lot of fear and anxiety coming up again, around these new behaviors and around these opportunities, okay, that we need to work through. And we need to work through by being patient and resting and trusting and being compassionate, because that's going to help us overcome them, right? Which we are going to overcome. We're not going to let them get the best of us here and move on. Okay. And so that's what I want to say. And what that made me think of as I was summarizing is 2 other points before I give you some examples. I'm going to give you some of those. The reason why, because maybe some of you are like, why now is it all of a sudden the right time? Why now is it all of a sudden the right time for everything to come together when it wasn't last year, September or October? Well, I think a big part of it is like we needed to arrange our resources, right? I'm hoping you all are getting this. We needed to arrange our money and our relationships and our finances to be in a more secure place in order to do what we wanted to do, and in order to make following our heart actually work or feel safer, right? And we needed to create that safety, right? And we didn't have that before. Okay, do you see? So before we maybe tried to take risks, but we didn't have the money to support the risk, right? Or the relationships weren't on board with the risk, right? Or we didn't feel safe enough to do it, and now that's been fixed. Now we have the relationships and the money, and we feel, even though there's still some anxiety, right? We feel emotionally safe enough to do these things that we need to do, and to finally bring them all together in the ways that it is that they need. Okay. Right. So hopefully that will show you why now it's coming. But does that make like whatever happened in last September, like if you were taking a risk, then worthless? No, what you were doing last September was planting the seeds for what is to come, right? And paving the way for what is to come, so that people knew that what you wanted and where you were going, right? And so you could feel the feelings and understand the feelings of what you wanted to create as well. Okay. And I think that's it. I think that's all I'm going to say there. I hope that made sense. Sometimes it gets hard at the end of the astrological year because there's so much that it compounds upon, right? The end of the astrological year, which is Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, is not about new things. It's the end of the zodiac. It's about everything from the past few months before it, right? And there's a very long backstory when you're focusing on that really adds up. That can be hard to kind of piece together, but that's what we're talking about. Okay. What could this be if I were to give you some examples now? Okay. We can talk like a job career situation. Maybe some of you have been trying to change your job or your career to be something very different that honors more of your emotions. Okay, maybe some of you have been taking little steps to do that over the course of the past year or so by either trying to start your own business or by putting a lot of feelers out for job applications. Maybe there's been some interviews there, but maybe either it never panned out fully. Maybe you got interviews, but you never got hired. Maybe the jobs you wanted were never fully available. Maybe you tried to start the business, but you never really got it together. Well, what's going to start to happen around this new moon in Capricorn is that finally you're going to start to figure it out. Finally, you're either going to start to figure out how to adjust your finances more fully so that you can leave the job that you no longer like and start your own business, or take a job that's more fulfilling, that's maybe lower pay, or a job that you applied to in the past that was more fulfilling for you is finally going to come back and call you back and say, hey, we're hiring. Do you want to come in for an interview? Or, hey, we really liked your resume. That's going to start to fall into place, or maybe both. Okay. That's going to happen there. So that can be a situation. If it's not that, then this could also be like a home situation, right? Maybe some of you have been trying to move home and that's been really hard for you to do for a while. And so maybe what's gone on the past year, right, is you've been trying to move home into a place you feel more emotionally fulfilled. Okay. And maybe you either haven't found a place over the course of the past few years that you thought was emotionally fulfilling, or the places you found either weren't right or weren't available or weren't on the market or something of that sort, or you didn't know where to move. Well, what's going to happen at this new moon in Capricorn is that you're right, or maybe you couldn't afford it, right? Maybe there's an affording issue. You couldn't afford to move. Well, what's going to happen at this new moon in Capricorn is you're finally going to figure out how you need to adjust your money in order to afford to move to the place that you want to move, or a similar place that you want to move, so that you can, and then maybe you'll start to move, or there will be a place that you were looking at a few months ago that now is going to come on the market, that now your money is in a better place to afford, and maybe the price is going to be better, that's going to come together. Okay, so do you see? You finally figured out the money so that you can move, and are fixing that, and a home you like comes on the market that now is like a better fit to afford, right? Lowered their price. Okay. What else could this be? Right? Maybe this is a health situation that's going on. Maybe some of you have had like some health issue that you've been trying to resolve for the past year or so, and for some reason you just haven't fully been able to resolve it. Maybe you didn't really know what treatment you needed, or maybe you had a treatment in the past but it never quite worked, or maybe you started to get it, like the treatment you just couldn't get an appointment with the treatment, or maybe you couldn't afford the treatment. Maybe there was something like that was going on. Or all the treatments. Well, what's going to happen now at this full moon in new moon in Capricorn is that you're finally going to figure out what the treatment is that you kind of need to fix your health, or you're going to get your money is going to be better. So now you can afford the treatment here to kind of like move everything forward, to kind of make everything kind of click into place in the way that you need, even though clearly there's some things that you might still need to work out there, some anxiety about whether you should do it or not. Okay, right. Or maybe the doctor that you wanted is available, something there. Okay, what else could this be? Maybe this is a relationship thing. I feel like this is more new relationships coming into place, or an old one ending, and not an old one coming back to move into another level. So I'm just going to say that because I know sometimes they're like, could this be an ex from my past coming back? No, get rid of them. This is either you ending something with a long-term ex, or a new person that you recently met coming together. Okay, so how could that manifest as? Well, maybe I'll give you an example. Maybe there's a new person that you recently met the past few months, right? Since September, that you've really liked, you've wanted to get into a relationship with, but for some reason it just hasn't worked, right? Maybe your schedules can't get together. Maybe they have other things going on in their life. Maybe one of you has been in the middle of a breakup or a divorce, right? It just hasn't fully come together. Well, what could happen at this new moon in Capricorn is that finally, like, the old relationship is finally ended, right? So that that breakup is finally finished, so that the two of you can get into a relationship, and your lives are in a bit of a better order for the two of you to actually begin dating or taking it to the next level or something like that. Okay, so could be something of that sort. If this is an ex leaving, right, maybe I'll go that route, then this could have been, maybe some of you have been trying to end a relationship with an ex for a long time, like been in a long divorce. It's been really hard. Maybe it's been hard for you to leave your ex because maybe the money wasn't in order, or some other things were going on, right? Well, what might happen is that now at this new moon in Capricorn, you finally figure out kind of like your money and resources that you need in order to finally leave the ex, right? And then you finally do it, right? You finally leave the ex, and that gets you into the new experience that you need. That's going on, right? And I suppose I could use that same way of thinking for everything else too, right? Because this could be, let's go back to the money and the job related. Maybe it's not so much about a new job. Maybe some of you are trying to break free from an old one. So another example could be maybe some of you are just trying to leave a job, for a while that doesn't resonate with you emotionally, but it's been really hard for you to leave the job because you don't have the finances. Well, maybe what can happen at this new moon in Capricorn is you finally start to figure out the finances of how you can leave your job, so that you can either be without a job for a while, or maybe there's someone else, like a spouse, will support you instead. Like, you finally figure out the money and the relationship so that you can kind of break free from that and fix that, right? And move on doing things in a different way. Right? Or maybe this is, to put it in context of the home, because there's a lot of different ways this can play out. Maybe some of you haven't been wanting to find a new home. Maybe some of you want to be like nomads on the road. right? You didn't want a new home. So maybe what's going on here is that you've been trying to be nomads on the road or whatever they call it for a few months. You haven't been able to do it because maybe you've been worried about the money and the job and how are you going to work and travel and do all this other stuff. Well, maybe now what happens at this new moon in Capricorn is you finally figure it out, how you can deal with the money and the job so that you can finally go on the road and have a moving home where you're traveling all the time, right? There's something about it that you're finally figuring out. Now, again, it's unexpected at first because maybe you didn't think you were going to figure it out. Maybe you didn't think you were going to figure it out and it was going to happen now and it was going to be in this way that may be a little startling, but you're going to figure it out and it's going to get you in that right trajectory that it is that you need. If you just be calm and patient and don't get so nervous about the whole thing that's going on. Okay. So that's what's going to happen there. It's finally that cornerstone really fallen into place there for you. Now let's go ahead and let's read your insight degrees. So let me go ahead and let me get that up on the screen. We'll go through those quickly. Your insight degrees were not written by me. They're written by someone else named Elias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings of each of the degrees from spirit, but I think they can be very relevant and help to give more information about the energy. This new moon, feels like a full moon to me for some reason, but it's a new moon in Capricorn is at 28 degrees. 27, 28, and 29 can all be relevant because the planets are in motion. We're going to look at 27 first. It says, purpose gazes right down the middle and sees that the way is clear. The internal adversary lurks under, around, and through things and is supremely doubtful of everything you see and know. Okay, so what does that mean to me? It means to me there is some sort of clarity, right? Purpose gazes right down the middle and sees that the way is clear. So there is some sort of clarity about what to do next, or there is some sort of feeling of that now my pathway is clear to do something I wanted to do before that for some reason didn't happen, right? There's a clear pathway. I really like that, to do something you want to do that's important. Okay, but it also talks about as well the internal adversary of doubt and anxiety, right? Coming back of like, okay, the path is clear now, finally, for me to do something I've been wanting to do for the past year that's emotionally fulfilling to me, but now there's doubt coming back and fear and insecurity. Okay, let's read on. It says, this only provokes the purposive one to become higher and mightier, more commanding and domineering, which in turn incites the adversary to more radical sabotage by denying your own worth in a savage fashion. Okay, what's interesting to me about this is that even though there is doubt and fear about like finally doing what we've been trying to do for the past year and honoring our emotions, there is also another part of us inside that's very strong and purposeful and very clear now on what needs to happen. So we're getting both a clear pathway with a lot of clarity to finally do what we want to do, what we've been trying to do to honor our emotions and to figure out how to do it. A lot of doubt still and insecurity, but also a very strong prompting of like, we got to conquer the doubt. We got to conquer the fear. We can't let this get the best of us. That's also emerging that maybe wasn't as much there before. Okay, it says this, each side pushes the other over the edge. You are karmically at a crossroads, trying on for size, strong selfhood in its inevitable shadow of pervasive doubts and negations, learning and discovering arduously how to stay with yourself, even while going against oneself, and thereby outlasting the adversary and proving that one can do the impossible, even when one is one's own fiercest critic and hardest to impress audience. So I like this about overcoming doubt, right? That's to me what it is. It's like you're learning how to stay with yourself even while going against ourselves, right? We're not running away from fears. Like maybe we were last year. There was a part when Mercury was retrograde in Leo in like July, August, in which we backed out. We got afraid. We were honoring our emotions and then we got afraid. It's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Even though there are doubts and insecurities, there's a very strong prompting of what we need to do, and we're not backing down anymore, and we're learning how to handle some of our doubts, fears, and insecurities so they do not get the best of us. I also like it here. It says a crossroads. We're at a crossroads here. We are. This is a turning point. The cardinal signs are turning points, of which Capricorn is. This is a turning point that's happening to finally get our life, to finally not let the fears get the best of us around what needs to be done here, and to get going in a better direction. Okay, let's read on. Capricorn 28, making a place for everything in reaction to previous rigidities, encouraging all facets to run wild. You are held within a witnessing posture that must balance the cosmic equation. A fabulous array of distortions become possible, including hiding from yourself everywhere and opportunities in reversals. Okay. The thing that stands out to me the most about this so far is about making a place for everything in reaction to previous rigidities. If you've been watching my horoscopes for quite some time, you know that I think that a big problem with our lives. And the reason why we wanted to change our lives in 2020 is because we were being too rigid, too logic, too traditional, too focused on what we should do. So now this degree of Capricorn is saying, let's not do that anymore. Well, let's not do things just because we have to do them, just because we should do them. We're past that. We've evolved past that. We have to start doing things because we feel them, okay? And because we are emotionally connected to them, right? Because some people may look at this new moon in Capricorn and interpret it as, oh, I need to do the serious and responsible thing, and I can't follow my emotions and I can't follow my heart. And that is fundamentally not what I think this new moon in Capricorn is about. This new moon in Capricorn is about, yes, follow your heart finally. You finally have figured out how to follow your heart and your emotions and to do it in a way that's stable and secure and to get the relationships and money on board with it and to go in that direction, okay? Right? Because it's going to balance the cosmic equation, because it's going to rebalance our lives in a much better way. Okay. It says exceedingly adept at using consciousness falsely for power control, for hidden purposes, or out of strange curiosity, most radically prone to playing out patterns or syndromes that you're convinced will soon be taken away, so must be binged upon first. Strange spiritual notions and ideologies. You need to drop the vast bulk of your voluminous self-indulgences in order to, after all, start to wake up and really remember purpose and the whole story, free from self-vindication and equally self-condemnation. So what the rest of this degree is saying to me is that we need to honor our emotions. That's what this new moon is all about. We need to honor our emotions and what's in our heart, and we finally figured it out. But the old part of ourselves that's saying, oh, well, maybe it doesn't make logical sense, maybe rearing its head, right? And it's time to put that to rest, right? It doesn't make logical sense. It's not traditional. It's time to put that to bed, to drop it, drop the vast bulk of that, right? And to remember your emotions and who you really are and kind of move from there. So, and I think that fits in both. I think both the degrees fit together quite nicely, is that we're getting finally clarity about what needs to be done to honor our emotions, to act, and the path is clear. Now we now finally have a clear pathway to do what we want to do, to honor our emotions, to get in this new way. Okay. All right. And to honor our emotions and to finally turn away from the rigid life we were living before. But there's a lot of doubt and insecurity that's going on. And a part of us that feels like maybe we're doing the wrong thing. Maybe we should fall back into these old habits. Maybe we shouldn't honor our emotions. Maybe we should just do what's practical and traditionally acceptable, that we now have to conquer. We have to overcome it. We have to conquer it at these last degrees here. And that we are going to conquer. We're not going to let these fears and insecurities and these old way of doing things draw us back any longer. Okay. And then here's the last degree, Capricorn 29. What is to be seen is the outer skeleton of things. What is to be known is the inner essence of things. The code, the extraordinary revelation, the realization is there inherently in the very substance of existence. A practiced eye can see inside, can penetrate and illuminate. The schooling and perception comes between lives and then overshadows each and every idea or notion anybody can come up with. But to access and do honor to this advanced faculty is rare, for seeing the whole truth is excruciating to the ego mind, and therefore the battle is on to awaken to your innermost truth, or to succeed brilliantly in adapting your truth to the marketplace. Yeah, wow, selling your soul to the highest bidder. So this degree is another confirmation to me that this new moon in Capricorn is not about forgetting your dreams. It's not about saying, oh, well, I can't make a new career that's more fulfilling to me work because I don't have the money. I guess I'm going to forget about it. I can't make a new home that so I guess it's just never going to happen and I'm going to have to not do it forever. No. This new moon in Capricorn is saying, this is what I want. And it's the realization of how to finally make it work, of how to finally get it to where you need it to go, right? And I hope you're seeing the difference there. It's not, nothing's ever going to work, so I guess I'm going to forget my emotions and go back to the way I was doing things that was traditional or whatever. It's saying, no, something's going to work. Something's starting to work. It's about us saying something's starting to work to help me honor my emotions, and us finally figuring out how we're going to do it and how we're going to get there, right? Even if it's going to take, right, and how to organize our finances and stuff to support, even if it's still going to take a few more weeks to really get there. Okay. So I hope that's clear, right? There's no going back to the old way. You have to move on, and you have to have hope and faith that it's going to come together, because it is as we speak. There's something happening right now as we speak that's going to lock in, that's going to help you in the next 2 months lock in something new, different, and better. Okay. Now let me go ahead and let me pull your card really quickly. Okay. Which one? Let me keep shuffling. Okay. Okay. All right, here we go. We've got the Page of Pentacles upright, and at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Four of Swords upright. I do like the Four of Swords being about rest, right? And that was part of the advice that I gave you. It was like sleep on it, right? And it's a picture of someone sleeping here. So I do feel like that's part of the advice, right? If there's something unexpected that's come up about your life that may throw it in a loop, right? You don't have to make a decision right away, even if you feel pressured to. I mean, a decision needs to be made soon, right? But it doesn't have to be made right away. I would give it 2 more weeks to that full moon in Leo. Here, sleep on it and give yourself time to really process it, which I did say, right? And it doesn't mean turn down. Maybe that's another thing. It doesn't mean turn down the opportunity. Don't turn down the opportunity right away. Don't turn down the unexpected thing right away, because I noticed that there's a fire burning in this card. You know, it's like there's something about this unexpected thing that's still there. So don't turn down the unexpected opportunity. I would still keep it kind of waiting in the wings, but just give yourself more time and space to sleep on it, to consider it, to kind of refresh your perspective or get a different perspective or get your perspective and your emotions in a better place. We've got the Page of Pentacles here as well. The Page of Pentacles is a lot about learning and understanding, but especially about the practical matters or money or resources as well, too. So not only do I think is some of the advice with the cards of like something, I do think something kind of sudden and unexpected is going to come up. Okay. Don't turn it down right away, but also I don't think we're ready to make a decision quite yet either. Give yourself some space and some time to kind of rest and reflect on it. And while you're taking that space and time to really rest and reflect on this thing and about what you eventually want to do with it, you may want to learn or inquire into practical matters, right? Maybe there's the Capricorn, into money. How am I going to make the money work? Into your daily routines. How's it going to work into my daily routines? To maybe focus on that and to maybe arrange a little bit more of your finances and your resources, whatever those are, your time, your money, in a little bit of a better way to ultimately support the thing that you want to do. And also try to stay grounded. You know, there's something about, right, the rest here, the coins, a very grounded energy. So I think those are my thoughts. Whatever comes up unexpected, don't make a decision right away, but don't let it go away either. Try to keep it, try to buy yourself some time to rest, get a perspective, you know, work some things out emotionally, and not only try to buy yourself some time to kind of sleep on it and figure things out, but also to kind of get a few more things together with money and resources, and maybe gather a little more information about the money and the practical details about what it might require in order for you to do this thing that it is that you need, and to get grounded, to get a little more grounded, right? And the root chakra or whatever before you make some of these decisions that you need, because that's going to make it so that when you do make the decision, because there is something that needs to be worked out here, which I think is going to require a bit of a leap of faith 2 weeks from now, you're going to be better to do it, right? If you've rested and if you're grounded and if you're armed with practical, right, know-how, it's going to be a lot easier for you to do what you want to do very soon and bring that together. So that's what I'm going to say there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube, share it with your friends, subscribe, and I will see you 2 weeks from now on that full moon in Leo, which I think is going to be a very big and exciting one. So I'll see you then.